I guess it's 6 o'clock already. Wow, it went by fast. Welcome everybody to the Ask the Experts or Ask Me Anything section of TMUG for what is this, September 2023.
You are correct.
Anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
I've got an answer.
On
I
my
hope.
iPhone running iOS 16 latest version, when I choose a lock screen by pressing down on the screen before I unlock it, and then I choose a different lock screen by tapping on it, and it takes over, but it doesn't stay.
That one I haven't seen. Did you try changing the positions of the lock screen?
What do you mean positions?
Oh, don't you have them like screen one, screen two, screen three?
Yeah.
I don't remember how that works on the iPhone. No, on the Apple Watch, you could change the position of it.
Well, let's see. If I swipe up and try to drag it to the right or the left, it doesn't go anywhere.
But you just swipe it to the left.
No, doesn't swipe to the left. I mean, they'll all go to the left, but an individual one won't move from its position.
I had a couple screens there, and then one of them I noticed was like, hey, they reverted back to an old one. But let me see if I can even do it now that I got the new operating system.
Okay, my audio dropped out there. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, you're back on your headset.
Okay.
Could you
say I only have one screen in mine, and I haven't changed it.
Okay, you're breaking up. Are you on Wi-Fi?
I'm on, yes, no, I'm hardwired.
Oh, maybe it's your Bluetooth.
It could be. I'm using a different, let me.
So I just checked mine and okay, I'm on and what I have to do is that I choose which one I want. I got two different screens. But once I got the one in the center there, I just tap it again and it stays. And it's not doing that for you?
Well, it stays for, a little while, but after an hour or two, it reverts back to the first one.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you tried changing it in the wallpaper preferences?
No, I haven't done that. Let's look at that.
So I've got iOS 17 on here, so I know it's slightly different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that may be an option. Just try to update to 17, see if that fixes it.
Okay, so when I'm in the wallpaper, the one that I chose is shown as current. And I can see all of my choices here. And actually, the one I normally have been using is the second one, not the first one. But I try to use the one that's the weather one. And so I'm going to click on Set as Current. And it says it's current. And so I'll just have to wait and see if that works.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
One of the things that I like about the new Watch OS is, how like when you swipe right or left to change faces, I've changed faces by accident a lot. Now you have to push down on it like you do on the iPhone.
Yeah, I read about that. That's good.
That's one of one of the few fixes that I actually like on there. Anybody else have any questions, problems?
Yes,
Hi, Lewis.
Dennis here.
Dennis.
I'm getting ready to make a purchase, a new laptop, an iWatch, and I need the advice from the bunch of experts in front of me that may help me make my decision.
That's
I-
that's easy. How much money you want to spend?
Money's not the deciding factor. I
Okay.
currently have 3 MacBooks. The newest is a 2013 with a dead battery and a pad that doesn't work. And I tentatively plan to replace it with a 15-inch MacBook Air with 8 megs of memory and
Go up to 16.
yeah. I was just cross trading that with the cost because I can buy at the BX, I can buy at Costco.
Yeah, but you don't want to go with 8 gigs of RAM. It's what you're going to find out in a year or two is that you should have gone with more RAM, especially if you ever plan on putting an external monitor on there.
No extra monitor. I don't do videos. All I do is emails and a few spreadsheets. And I'm
I
not
would
in.
I would still go with the 16 gigabyte of RAM as far as hard drive space.
At least,
Well, your options are 16 or 24.
at least 512 on the hard drive.
Okay.
Well, it all depends, Denny. How much space are you using on your 2013?
Less than 200 gigs, and it's been that way for years.
You might be able to get away when you say less than 200, are you talking like 120, 130 or 180, 190?
180, 190.
Then I would go with the 512.
Gotcha.
And the reason being is that in the newer operating system, as you delete files, the Mac OS creates a snapshot. So all those files that were deleted will stay on your hard drive for a few days.
Gotcha.
So, and what it does, that snapshot is an image of your whole drive.
Yeah.
And I've had situations where the snapshots on a computer were 150, 160 gigabytes.
Gotcha. I had planned to clean up my existing system before I do a migration.
Okay.
And I'm 83 years old now, and I figured that machine will outlive me. I've had 3 heart surgeries since the first of this year, so I'm not worried about so much the machine.
Right.
I hear you, Danny. Hey,
Oh.
Danny, you know about the military Apple website?
Yes, I've been doing the comparisons, and I can buy at the base. I can buy at Costco. And if I buy at the base, I don't pay taxes. But the cheapest one right now is Costco because they get $150 off of it.
But generally, I found at the base, you can only get the base models.
Yeah, well, the top model at the base is 8 megs in 512 storage.
Yeah, and that's always been my turn away is that I'll just go to the military Apple website. Yeah, you get the discount, but you pay taxes on it, and
Yeah.
it kind of comes out a wash. But
Pretty close.
yeah, it's close.
Yeah. Does anybody know if Costco takes the Apple credit card?
No,
You don't know, or that they don't take it?
they do not take it.
Okay,
They only take Visa.
gotcha. Well, I've got one of those.
And that's also another advantage of using the Apple Store with the military discount. You get 10% off, and then you get the 3% back on your Apple card.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey, Denny, have you thought about trying the retired military section of the Apple Store? I did, and I saved $400 on my Mac Studio.
Well, that's where I got the price, because the price on their military department is the same as you get at the base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you do have an ID.me account, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
But
because
at the
that is,
base, and at the base, you don't have to pay tax.
gotcha.
yeah,
the-
but you're limited as to what you get at the base. It's usually only the base model with 8 gigs.
Yeah, that's,
Unless you go up to the 1 terabyte model, I believe that they have a 16. But I think 1 terabyte is overkill for you, Denny.
yeah. Okay. Related, that was my other purchase. I had planned to just buy an Series 8 watch because I just had my defibrillator installed a couple of weeks ago, and I have an increased interest of the behavior of my heart rhythms. So I think it might be time to get a watch.
Well, the 9's out and it's a pretty good price.
Yeah.
Another thing is, when do you plan on getting it? Because of the timing of the year. Usually after Thanksgiving, Target has the best prices every year on Apple Watches. Usually they take like $150 off.
Okay, because I was gonna wait till the watches came at the base, but that'll be a while, and I'm not trying to buy a watch today or tomorrow. I got no great urgency.
Yeah, also check Amazon because they have discounts, especially if you're looking for an 8 and the 9 just came out.
Yeah,
Yeah, and if you buy the watch at the base, they don't give you a discount. It's because they're not actually a part of AFES. They are a contractor.
okay,
Yeah, I found that out when I got my wife. So she said, well, the hell with it. But I had to pay a little more. I could have gone online and bought it for less.
gotcha. 'Cause I figure now that my laptop is 10 years old, it's time to replace it. I've wore it out.
2013s are, believe it or not, I have a 2013 here that I'm running Ventura on,
Yeah,
and I'm amazed at how well it runs.
Yeah,
And
I
I
have a
bought it-
2013 too. Swearing.
and I bought them for my kids, and they both got still using theirs, and I'm still using mine. Except the trackpad is flaky now, and the battery is dead.
That's because of the battery. When the battery starts swelling on those things, it affects the trackpad.
Yeah,
You could get a replacement battery for about $140 for that.
yeah.
I have physically replaced batteries in that model for 2 people, including me. Works fine. You can
Yeah.
get the battery from OWC.
Yep.
Yep, all you need is a Y screwdriver.
Yeah.
Real easy.
And I have all the screwdrivers, so it's
Well,
a piece of cake for me.
I got plenty of screwdrivers, and I've done batteries and other machines.
So Ridge, I want to know if you had any screws left over at the end.
No.
And I put the screws on. I have packing tape with sticky side up, and I always put them right on there so they don't get away.
I have a container of extra screws.
Gotcha.
We've all been screwed, yeah.
Now the thing is, you show this to the young kids these days, they don't even know what this container is.
Yeah.
No Kodak label, right?
Times have changed.
Do any of you using your watch to monitor your heart condition?
Well, I monitored my
Yeah.
health on my watch. It's great. Not only the heart, but exercising and medication, etc. It's a real handy device.
Sleep?
Have you gotten the feeling that you're too connected though with the watch?
No.
Not really.
I stopped using mine when I leave the house. I take it off and I put a regular watch on lately.
Well, being a Tesla owner, I'm connected all the time.
Yeah.
Big brother Elon is always watching.
Well, the fall protection on the watch is a really big deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
As we all saw with the keynote recently in that intro, which I was
That was amazing.
but yeah, wasn't it good?
That was probably the best part of the. I didn't like the Mother Nature one, even though I love Octavia Spencer. But
Oh, I thought
that-
it was cute. Oh,
The
I was
begin-
real confused at the beginning. Like, what the hell's going on here?
yeah, well, you have to see, there's a movie called The Shack
Okay.
where she plays God or Mother Nature or something like that. It
Is
was
that
real,
why she pointed at the guy and said, "Don't go there"?
yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was the funniest part.
So,
Who was your favorite person in the intro?
ooh, that's kind of hard. I mean, they were all tearjerker stories.
I like the old Japanese guy. I thought he was so cool the way he did it. Just really resonated for me. I don't know.
You know, besides just the tearjerker stories, it really, how should I put this? It showed how important family was,
Yeah.
you know, because a lot of people are not close to their families these days. And when you have a traumatic experience like that, family shows up.
What's the name of that show? What was the name of that movie?
The movie I was talking about was The Shack, but what we were talking about is the beginning of the keynote from Apple the other day, where they showed how I think about 6 or 8 people that the Apple Watch saved their lives. They wouldn't be around today if they didn't have an Apple Watch.
Wow. Well, I had a TAVR procedure last year, and they replaced my aorta valve with a artificial valve. And I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary on September 7th, and I'm still here. My valve was closing, and the guy said if I didn't do it, and I wasn't a candidate for open surgery, so it was my only choice, but it worked out okay.
Good for
Good.
you, Tom.
Anybody else have any questions or anything?
Well,
Back on the watch. Now, the iWatch is, if I read the specs correctly, does not monitor blood pressure, just the
Right.
heart rhythm.
Correct.
Not
Just
yet.
oxygen and heart rate.
Yeah, because I Googled the 10 best watches, and on there they say the RIVA Revival, whatever it is, monitors blood pressure.
I think Withing has their new watch may do blood pressure also.
Yeah.
I think that's in Apple's plans, but it didn't make it, it may be in a future release, but yeah, it's a tricky thing to do with a watch.
That's what I was thinking.
Well,
I
the
check my
other
blood
thing,
pressure and don't always get the right readings now.
the other thing that's been high on the list is for diabetic folks to do the blood sugar sampling without using a needle.
Gotcha.
And there have been some rumors, we don't know how credible they are, that Apple has been working on both for a long time.
Yeah.
The problem is the FDA doesn't want to approve them. And without that approval, they can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But I don't know what Kevin or Tony might say about this, but the whole med tech industry that makes all these blood pressure monitors and stuff, it's ferocious politically. And they really put high pressure in it. My cardiologist, for instance, at Pima Heart, won't pay any attention to my Apple Watch whatsoever.
Right.
And he just thinks it's snake oil. Whereas my PCP, when I showed her my stuff on my iPhone, she said, "Oh, can I see that?" She sat there and typed everything in for about 5 minutes. So, they're very different attitudes. And I'm waiting for somebody, it certainly won't be the European Union, but somebody to say, yeah, we'll go with this new Apple blood pressure thing. Because, as far as I can tell, it's going to revolutionize medicine. And everything before that, because I have white coat high blood pressure, so they always give me crap about my blood pressure every time I go into a doctor's office. And I tell them what you're doing is a total waste of time. Average blood pressure really may not mean anything in a couple of years from now, once they can do constant monitoring. And, if you ever have a problem, they put a monitor on you and you walk around with it for 48 hours. So go figure.
Yeah, it's a money thing. They're charging thousands of dollars for a monitor. They don't want you to have it part of your watch.
Exactly.
you know, and plus there's the accuracy thing. I've used O2 monitors before because I have O2 issues.
Hmm.
When I sleep, I have sleep apnea. My O2 stats drop like you wouldn't believe. My
How
Apple
far?
Watch doesn't show me as having a problem at night with my O2.
Really? Mine does. It takes it down to 87, 86 or something.
Well, let's do it this way. When I go, last time I went to the hospital, last 2 times for surgery, they had to give the hospital instructions not to use an O2 meter on me because as soon as I would fall asleep, the alarm would go off.
Oh, really?
My
Wow.
O2s dropped that low, and it would drop down to the 40s and 50s. But my Apple Watch
Really?
still shows that it's like 82 or 83 instead of
Yeah.
96, 97 when it's so.
Good point. I don't know. Maybe it just doesn't range that far. I
Well,
hadn't
it's
thought
also
about
not
that.
as tight and it still uses the green LEDs versus the red LEDs that they use in the hospital. So there may be a difference there.
What's it using red LEDs for? Because I see mine using the red ones during the night sometimes.
But does it have, I don't notice that it has red LEDs on it. But I know
That's
that even with my Apple Watch, I wear it a little bit loose. It's not nearly as tight
oh.
as an O2 sensor would be.
Yeah, see, I use
And,
the
and
sports
and if you
band.
could see those LEDs, that means it's a little loose on you as well.
Yeah. I could see that being an issue.
One of the LEDs uses, one of the LEDs does the O2 and the other one does the heart rate.
Yeah, because I see green and red during the night.
Kurt, do you have audio?
I do.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say something.
No, I was. I wanted to know does anybody know if there's a way to adjust the sensitivity of the fall detection or whatever on your watch?
I don't believe so.
The reason I ask is that I finally turned mine off. It was driving me crazy. I would set it off all the time. I'm going to smack garlic on the cutting board when I'm cooking, and it lights up saying that I've fallen, or dragging the trash barrels out to the street. All of a sudden, it's telling me that I've fallen. You know, and this is just so many false positives. I finally just turned it off, which kind of defeats the purpose.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, I think it kind of learns if you keep it on, because when I first started wearing the watch, I had the same problem, but lately I haven't gotten any false positives at all.
Well, maybe I should try it.
Yeah, I had a client that was over at La Paloma Country Club, and to make a point, she banged her fist on a table, didn't realize the Apple Watch had set off the fall detection until the fire department showed up.
Oh, that's teacher.
Oh,
You know, Kurt, I would call Apple and ask for a specialist and ask about that. If you're setting it off that much, there might be a hardware issue with your watch.
Could be, or I could take Roger's suggestion and just live with it for a while and see if I can train it.
Well, I think Apple has done some things on their side too to make it more accurate.
yeah, every OS update, there's always something about the watches being more accurate or less, false positives.
Right.
So
I accidentally tripped the SOS. I was trying to reset my watch and just turn it off, and I pushed the wrong slider. And we were up in the White Mountains, and the 911 guys would not let me off the phone. Are you absolutely sure you're okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just, explained the whole thing. And they said, well, if there's any problem, call us back. And he just didn't want to hang up. I was very impressed.
Well, the only other thing, Chris, is you were talking about the one of the things that always amazes me is when you go to a doctor's office, the first thing they do when you walk in the door is to slap a blood pressure. And that should be the last thing they do when you leave. Because you've been rushing to get there. You say, oh my God, I'm going to be late and everything else. And you come rushing in. The first thing they do is put that thing on. Your blood pressure is way high. So,
I got a great story for that one. The reason I'm on blood pressure meds is every time I go to the doctor, before I go, I'd have one of those 5-hour energy drinks and have a monster drink in the car.
oh God.
now that my blood pressure is normal, my doctor wants to wean me off the meds, but she says she's had problems with people coming off of it once you're on there.
Really?
So she says, oh, it's going to be like a 2-year thing. In December, she's going to start weaning me off, putting me at like a half a pill a day, and and go on and from there.
Well, maybe what you're taking. I don't know. I've cut back on mine before and it was fine.
Yeah, well, she wants me totally off, and they say you can't go from being on it to totally off of it.
60 to 0, yeah, right.
Well, I've got a question for the powers that be. Are you guys familiar with any of the other software programs other than Adobe Firefly that would permit a friend to create kind of AI illustrations for a sci-fi novel he's doing? And it sounds perfect for Adobe's new AI tool, but he's not in that system and doesn't want to get into the whole Adobe infrastructure, ostensibly just for generating AI images with something like Firefly.
No idea.
Yeah, I was going to ask Melissa too, because that program her son's the expert in, I imagine they're going to have AI pretty soon.
Procreate, GIMP may even have it pretty soon.
Yeah.
What's wrong with chatbot?
With what?
With which, I'm sorry?
Chatbot GT, I think it is.
He's talking about doing images with AI.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think
chatbot does images.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's cat's eye.
Chat box.
Oh,
Chat.
Chat
do it
GPT.
directly. Good question. Don't know.
Yeah, I think it does. Dr. Know-It-All has a YouTube channel, and he was demonstrating some of the images he was doing with Chatbot GT several months ago. But I think you just end up with a GIF, and you can just import that into whatever you're going to do. But
Sure. Interesting idea.
And he uses a Mac, so it worked on a Mac for him.
Thanks.
Chris, are you getting the iPhone 15?
No, I've got the 14. I'm pretty happy with it. I don't think there's enough in the 15 to spike my interest, but a certain local president of a user group apparently is getting one.
Cool. What do you have now, Bob?
Right now I have a 10R. So that's
A big upgrade.
5 years old. And just today I ordered a 15 Pro.
Cool.
Wow.
And I followed my own advice. Never get the base amount of memory. Bump it up one.
So you going with the terabyte?
No, the 256.
Yeah, I've got a 12 with 512, and I have like 190 gigs free. So
Well, my 10R has 128, and I'm only using about half of it.
yeah. Denny, another thing about the MacBook Air, with the new solid state drives out there, you can get external storage that is as fast as the internal stuff on the Air. So if you don't want to go with the 512 and only a 256, once you trim things down, you get an extra 1 terabyte drive that runs around 2,500 megabits per second for $160.
Well, what the online guru community has called the 256 a very slow drive. And they
on the new 15s as well. I remember that on the 13s.
And they recommend the 512s because it has 2 chips instead of just 1 chip.
One. Okay. I thought Apple fixed that problem.
No, I would never go below 512.
Okay.
Hi, I have a question.
Hi, Karen. What's up?
Hi. And I'm listening because I need to upgrade everything. So I was waiting until September and I'll hear what everybody says at the meeting. But the other question I have is I wanted to do a book of poetry just for somebody's retirement. So it's only one book. So does anybody know a fast way, inexpensive way of doing that? If it was poetry, I wouldn't have, you know, maybe I'd have some kind of doodles, but I don't need it illustrated. But I wanted to do a book and I've got like 2 weeks to do it in. Silly.
I would have said,
To me, you know, so I didn't spend a lot of time doing it, but I've got the poems for it.
I would have said Costco, but they no longer do that.
Oh,
Costco has given their print business over to Snap something. I get emails from them every day. Who am I thinking of?
Shutterfly?
Somebody say again.
Shutterfly?
Shutterfly. That's it.
Butterfly.
You might try Shutterfly to see if they do books.
That's why I'm getting all those emails from them suddenly.
Yeah. So Karen, what you could do is approach it just like a photo book, but put your poems on PDFs, you know, save them as a PDF, and then submit those instead of photos, and they'll put the book together. And if you want to do a little artwork, you can do that too. But it would be the same as a photo book, except you would be submitting your text as PDFs.
thank you. Thank you.
Then too, you have the option of looking at different vendors and what their books look like. In case that's one that really catches your eye that looks appropriate for you, since you're only buying one book. You know, Blurb has really nice books too, but they're kind of expensive.
Yeah,
Service.
I have a question on how do you tell when an adapter is data only, power only, both, or plus some?
I went through that this afternoon with somebody.
Uh-huh.
Here's what you need to do
Okay.
is you could get these. Hold on a second. Let me go grab my bag and I'll be right back. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
I think you basically have to test it
Good
to see if
heavens.
it'll pass data.
Okay.
And then label
So-
it.
Right. So they all pass power. I mean, they
I
all
think
pass
so.
electricity. So the questions then are data. And what was the other thing? This is all from your tips and tricks, Susan's summary of your tips and tricks from last month.
It also depends upon how fast they pass data.
right.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm back. There's two things that you have to worry about. Number one is power and how much power they put out.
Okay.
You get
And
these.
that's watts, right?
That's watts and
Okay.
volts. So
Okay.
these are meters. This one is for USB. This one is for USB-C.
Okay.
It'll tell you how much power is going through it when you connect it. And I would recommend connecting it to something that's large, like an iPhone or a laptop. And this way it gives you the maximum readings.
Okay.
That's number one for power. Now for data, you need to have multiple drives. You have to have a regular, for USB-C, you have to have a regular USB drive that's slow. Then you need one that's a little bit faster. Then you need one that's really fast. And you see where it maxes out speed-wise.
Okay. Now, when you're talking fast, you're talking number of volts or amps.
No, fast is data. So there's two things that you worry, the voltage and the amperage. The voltage is usually always the same on the cables. It's the amperage, whether it's a 5 amp or a 10 amp or a 20 amp, and they measure it in wattage. So like you have for like an iPhone, you need I think a 12-watt cable. For a MacBook Pro, you need 100-watt. For a MacBook Air, you need, I think, 50 or 60 watts. and they rate that way.
Okay. All right, so, I can remember my son telling me that to, let me see, to power up my Air book or my whatever, Air Mac,
MacBook Air.
thank you. I needed a certain minimum wattage, which was more than most of the adapters I have in this house, which are mostly from iPhones and things like that. So I think he said 30 watts or something like that. But have you seen a good article about this?
There is, I don't think there is an
No.
article. 30 watts is not that powerful.
Mm.
You have your adapters that are 30 watts, and then you have your cables that are usually 30 watts or more. And usually when you buy them on Amazon, they will tell you how they're rated.
Right, okay. So not only am I looking at what the adapter does, but at what the cable does.
Right.
All right.
And another way that you could tell is if you're on your MacBook Air, you could hold down your Option key and click on the Apple menu and go to System Information. Go down to Power, and then the very bottom, it'll tell you if it's an Apple adapter, the wattage of the adapter and the wattage of the cable.
Huh. Okay.
Because Apple, for a while, even though some of the MacBook Pros were 85 watts or 87 watts, they were shipping 60-watt cables with them by mistake.
Oh, okay.
And that was how you told.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. Well, it looks like for right now, I will puzzle this out. But tell me again what the name of the thing you're using to read speed or
Well, this reads
whatever it
the
goes.
amperage.
Amp.
So this will show how many amps or wattage is on the adapter.
Okay. But the cable is a different thing.
Cables are different things.
That won't
So,
read the cable.
This would, on something like this, I would plug this end into a USB-C port, a USB port,
Right.
and then the cable would plug into this end.
Okay.
And then whenever you plug in, it reads how much power is going through there.
Okay. Now, where did you find that?
Amazon.
Okay. So what's the term I'm looking for to search for it?
USB multimeter.
Thank you. Okay, thanks.
I've just put a link into the chat for a cable that I bought on the recommendation of Dave Hamilton from Amazon, and it's relatively inexpensive, about $25 for one that's 6 feet long, and it will pass up to 240 watts, and it will do 40 gigabytes of data transfer, USB-C to USB-C, and it's a fast charging cable compatible with MacBook Pro, MacBook Air, iPad Pro, and so forth.
Okay.
Dave did some research where he bought some cables from OWC, and he bought some cables from Anchor and some cables from Belkin, and then he picked this one because it said it was good, and it was from Amazon, and it was much less expensive, and he tested them.
Okay.
And this is the one that he recommends. And
And
then
the only thing on that one, Bob, that one, the only MacBook Pro that would take advantage of that cable is the 16-inch M2.
Yeah, but even a MacBook Air would take advantage. It'll pass all the power the MacBook Air can use.
Sure, but you could get them for $6 on Amazon.
And so this
all you have to do is just Google 100-watt or 100-watt USB-C cable, and that'll be more than sufficient for the Air.
For power. Yeah,
and even this one for right. And she doesn't. I doubt if she's going to be using Thunderbolt 4 between that and a charger.
Right.
You just don't need it.
It's very true.
Wait
But after Dave's recommendation, I bought a 6-footer, and I think I bought the 1.64 foot one as well, just to have them here.
Yeah, well, that's what I've done is I've bought a 6-foot cable and then a 3-foot cable just to have both. In case I needed the longer one. So, all right, well, thank you. That, I think I might have just read that tidbits, or I was in tidbits yesterday, I think. But
And
anyway,
also, and Susan,
I
also,
am relieved. I am
Good.
relieved that Apple is doing all USB-C, because this whole Lightning USB-C thing, since I got the MacBook Air in 2019 or 2020, has been rather irritating.
Yeah. You could also get a cable like this that has a little window and it reads the wattage that your computer is using.
Ah, oh, that's interesting.
So these are great for charging only though,
Okay.
okay,
not for data.
also in the chat are a couple links to articles about USB-C cables and so forth that you might want to check out.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a
Sure.
lot.
So many options.
Yes.
I have another source for Karen's book. There's an outfit on West Grant on the west side, let's see, just the west of the freeway, called West Press. I did a self-published book there years ago. So here they are, they're local and they handle that sort of stuff.
And also,
Thank you. Thank you.
Karen, I put something in the chat that
Yeah.
you could probably go to Alpha Graphics or a FedEx office store,
Yeah.
and they might be able to do a single book for you.
Yeah, thanks. The thing is, I mean, I'm a writer. I've published and I've self-published books, but it's just like the one book is what I didn't know how to get, so thank you. I didn't think of, I can try Alpha Graphics. It makes sense.
Anybody else have anything?
I'm just curious from Logan if he had more info on West Press. I drive by there all the time, but I've never been in there.
It's been several years since I did my book, but they were very helpful. They helped me put together a cover. When I did my book, I handed them a hard copy, and they copied it. But they also will work with a digital copy, and they made I started out with just a few copies. I think I did like 50, and then I continued doing orders as I sold them. And over the years, I probably sold 500 books.
Wow. Okay. Could it have images as well?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, I was going to suggest the Alpha Graphics on Grant and Swan, because they do all of the Diana Madras prints and all of her work. And they're very knowledgeable folks in there. But West Press seems pretty interesting. I didn't know there was anybody like that left in town. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Any tips or suggestions as I migrate from my 10-year-old machine to my new one when I get it?
Yes. Does your first off, does your 2013, is it solid state or is it rotational spinning hard drives?
I believe it's spinning. I've never
Okay.
replaced the drive or anything.
Get an external USB drive that's solid state and back up to that first.
Okay.
And then migrate from that to the new machine. Otherwise, you're going to need specialty cables. That'll run a couple of $100 and it's cheaper to buy the SSD.
Be a lot faster too.
Yeah, I have external SSD drives. I keep multiple backups.
Well, you want to do a clone. Make sure it's a complete clone of the system, not just a copied backup.
Yeah,
I've never
use
done
something like a Super Duper or Carbon Copy Cloner.
Yeah. I've never done a clone, so super duper.
I recommend Carbon Copy Cloner. It works better on the newer systems.
Thank you.
Is that gonna override any of the system settings with older stuff on the newer machine?
No, he's still gonna have a lot of settings that are like security stuff that's gonna need to be configured when you go up. What do you have, Big Sur on there now?
Yeah, Big Sur.
So when you go up to Big Sur, new machine is probably gonna have either newer Ventura, or if it's brand new, if he gets it custom, it may have Sonoma on it. So he'll have to do the configurations and stuff like that. And probably reinstall a lot of your software to get it to work right.
Gotcha.
And the migration action will transfer the names of your accounts and your passwords.
Might need
And,
some newer versions of software too.
and Denny, if you run into a problem, if you get it between meetings, just email me.
Okay. Thank you.
Got another 13-minute, people.
Well, I had a question, but it seems to have fixed itself. For reasons that I don't understand, the drive in the upper right-hand corner of my screen, so the primary drive, would appear in different places on the screen instead of in that spot that I wanted it to. So I was going to ask you, I would move it back every time. I was going to ask if there's a way to go sit and stay and don't move.
Yes.
But in the last 3 days, it seems to be doing that all by itself.
If that happens again, what you need to do is put it where you want it. Make sure there's no icons close to it. Highlight it, and then under the, I think it's the edit menu, say clean up selection. And then it'll lock it into that position.
Okay, I can give that a try. But I think I've got it, I think it is decided to stay where I want it. Anybody else?
One quick question. I've got a friend whose name, let's say, is Frank. And when he sends me a text, the text says, from maybe Frank. What is he doing, or what am I doing wrong? So they'll just say from Frank.
Okay, Frank has emailed you correctly,
This is a text.
but you have received emails from him before.
Correct, yes.
Okay, he is not in your contacts.
Yes, he is.
His phone number is not in your contacts.
Yes,
You look in your, if you look in there, it'll say probably suggested by Siri. You actually have to add the phone as his iPhone contact.
Okay, well, let's say maybe I should just delete it and type it in again, just to be sure.
You could do that. Make sure you put 520 also in front of it.
Correct.
I found that it makes a difference if he is he's using your text for him, or his text is using primarily the email address versus the number.
Yeah, that could be. It could be. I'll have to. But it seems to me that it should be in contacts under his name is what I should make sure everything is correct.
Right. Yeah, that you have his email address and his phone number in there, and that it's not as suggested by Siri.
Right. And if he's got multiple email addresses, I should maybe fiddle with those too.
They could all be in the same contact. It doesn't matter.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I've had to clean up a bunch of contacts, Kurt. where I had duplicates, and you know, they were with two different names, like Sue and Susan for my wife. And where there was one had a phone number, one had an email address, or they had an old address. Good friend of mine I had 3 old email addresses for, including his new one here on La Cholla. And it came up and it said, well, we have 2 locations for Ken, and it wouldn't resolve it. And the other location was in the Bay Area that he moved from a year ago. It's like, well, what is that all about? So I finally just took that old address and put it into the other field. I got it out of addresses. It seems to be getting pickier.
It does.
And of course, I don't know, some of this contact info goes back a couple of decades, and that could be why.
Well, you have to remember that when Apple makes changes to the operating system or adds features, they're only caring about the people under the age of 25.
That's right.
Okay. They do not have contacts that are 10 years old.
Right.
That's an us problem.
Yeah.
And Apple, when they're making their features or stuff like that, we're not their target audience.
Right. We weren't born with a mouse in our hands.
iOS 17 and Watch 17, the new operating system, is proof that we are not their target audience.
Kurt, what's a mouse?
What's a mouse? Right here.
It's still updating.
Okay, it's time to take a break. So we're going to stop recording and reconvene at 7 o'clock.
Okay.